either. We've all, most of us have backslid, advanced into becoming Presbyterian from being in one of those other traditions of which many of you are a part. I personally just kind of stumbled into this denomination. It's a 12-letter word, Presbyterian. It wasn't a really idea, but then again, I was non-denominational, and that's 17 words, 17 letters long, so 12, I think, is improvement. Frankly, I started out as Roman Catholic, but shortly after my 15th birthday, I stumbled into a Southern Baptist church and accepted Christ as my Lord and Savior. I then stumbled into an Assemblies of God church and discovered the Holy Spirit. I visited Nazarene Church, that's old kind of holiness Methodist group, and there discovered Christian rock and roll. Now, don't tell the Nazarenes that they've got a rock and roll church, because most of them wouldn't know what to do with that. But I also went into an Episcopal church, met with their vestry, and they agreed to rent their fellowship hall to me and a couple of my friends to start a coffee house. We called it the Mustard Seed. And I did all of those moves before my 16th birthday. And the Mustard Seed continued on for 10 years in that role. Anyway, by the way, before long, our Saturday night coffee house had better attendance than they would have on Easter Sunday in the sanctuary. But I also tried not to let them know that, for both embarrassment's sake and for the thought they might increase our rent. Anyway, by my 17th birthday, I was calling myself a non-denominational Christian, and for the next 10 years, bounced around multi-denominational churches of different brands, also a non-denominational or multi-denominational seminary. Billy Graham was the chair of the board, and was hired actually out of seminary into a Presbyterian church that really, for all intents and purposes, was really a Pentecostal non-denominational church, which is a whole lot of words, a lot of letters. But behind the scenes, they were Presbyterian, and I ended up kind of glamming into that whole scene and becoming a Presbyterian pastor. Anyway, coming to be with you, multi-denominational such as you are, in the Hill Country, in the town of Kerrville, I think I've finally arrived at a place I want to stay real long term. Now, you didn't come here just to hear my story. My assigned topic is Christmas, which is about another arrival. I didn't just arrive here. It's about a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes and placed in a manger. Now, the opening page of the Christian New Testament tells one writer's take on how it is that Jesus arrived. That writer, Matthew, probably Matthew, a tax collector, tells an even more circuitous route for how his arrival got there. I don't read aloud the King James Version much, but in this case, I like the first chapter of the Gospel according to Matthew. And what is one of the longest run-on sentences you'll ever get to read. You know the verb begat, as in bring a child into existence through reproduction. Well, I've long wanted to preach a sermon about the begats, how it is that Matthew tells the story of Jesus' origin, his past, and how he got to where he is and where he was. I see my screen might be moving a little bit. I hope you can see me at this point. Yes, are you hearing and seeing me okay? Okay. Anyway, I want to tell you about the begats. In one sentence, the verb begat is used 40 times. That's a long sentence. I'm going to read it to you and see if you can hang in there with me. It's really, really boring, but hang in. The book of the generation of Jesus Christ, the son of David, the son of Abraham. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat Judas and his brethren. And Judas begat Phares and Zerah of Thamar and Phares begat Esrom. This print is real small. And Esrom begat Aram. And Aram begat Aminadab, and Aminadab begat Nesaron, and Nesaron began Salmon, and Salmon begat Boaz of Rechab, and Boaz begat Obed of Ruth, and Obed begat Jesse, and Jesse begat David the king. Aha, that's a familiar name. David the king begat Solomon, and who had been the wife of Urias, that is by way of the wife of Urias. And Solomon begat Rehoboam, and Rehoboam begat Abiah, and Abiah begat Asa, and Asa begat Josaphat, and Josaphat begat Joram, and Joram begat Ozias, and Ozias begat Jotham, and Jotham began Achaz, and Achaz begat Ezekias, and Ezekias begat Manasseh, and Manasseh beget Amon, and Amon beget Josias, and Josias beget Jehoias, and Jehoias around the time of going after Babylon. And after that, they are brought in Babylon. Jeconias beget Salathiel, and Salathiel beget Zerubbabel, and Zerubbabel beget Abiud, and Abiud beget Eliakim, and Eliakim beget Azor, and Azor beget Sadoc, and Sadoc beget Achim, and Achim beget Eliud, and Eliud beget Eleazar, and Eleazar beget Methan, and Methan beget Jacob, and Jacob beget Joseph, the husband of Mary, of whom was born Jesus, who is called the Christ. Is anybody feeling really, really inspired by what I've had to say so far? Have I got your rapt attention? Are you feel compelled by all of you, what you've heard? Well, I want to share. I read that if only to let you know that I'm more interesting than that. At least I've lowered the bar of expectations at this point. But that said, I always wanted to research why all these names there, who are these, what this all about. In the process of that, I found a sermon preached many years ago by a Church of Christ pastor. If any of you are Church of Christ, you can pop your buttons. Robert Warren, he did a really good job of this, and so I've borrowed some of his material in preparing this for you all. Now, before I proceed, allow me one caveat on all that I'm going to say. As the Google tells me, Rotary International, I've been with you before in other places, but I know it's a service organization that is, quote, non-political and non-religious service organization open to all. Being invited to speak about Christmas to a non-religious organization presents a basic pitfall. It is testing the edges of acceptable propriety for an organization like Rotary. So word of those to practice of a faith different than Christianity, whether Jewish or Islamic, Hindu or Buddhist, any other, or spiritual but not religious, or nuns as in none of the above. That's one of the most popular labels used these days. What I have to say about Jesus' birth is largely matter of fact. Stories that are not really challenged for their accuracy. And they are basically about the founder of the largest world religious movement. One certainly need not be a Christian to find inspiration by the homely stories that Jesus lived and taught. So please hear me out as I'm wanting to give some of that story, and some of that inspiration hopefully can be uplifting to you wherever you are in your faith convictions. Hopefully what I have to share will speak to your heart and soul. Now, by the way, now that I start, Bob, you did say I have 30 minutes, correct? Okay, you can start the clock now. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to be all that 30 minutes, but I'll take a few. How many of you have spent time on Ancestry.com or any one of those other websites to track your family roots? How many of you have done that along the way? I thought I'd see a whole lot of hands there. Yep, no surprise. In fact, it gets really complicated, though, to do that. Did any of you do that saliva test? Maybe it was even under last year's Christmas tree to get your own family's ancestry. I did get that last year and did get it. So yeah, we've had some of those experiences. Well, when I see such genealogies, I get really confused. That kind of confusion is captured in the song recorded in 1947 that popularized 12 years ago by singer Ray Stevens. I'm not going to sing it, but I'll replay the lyrics. Many, many years ago, when I was 23, I was married to a widow who was pretty as can be. This widow had a grown-up daughter who had hair of red. My father fell in love with her, and soon they too were wed. This made my dad my son-in-law and really changed my life. So now my daughter was my mother because she was my father's wife. And to complicate the matter, even though it brought me joy, I soon became the father of a bouncing baby boy. My little baby then became a brother-in-law to my dad, and so he became my uncle, though it made me sad. For if I were my uncle, then I would also be made him brother of the widow's grown-up daughter, who was, of course, my stepmother. father's wife then had a son who kept them on the run, and he became my grandchild, for he was my daughter's son. My father is now my mother's mother, and it makes me blue, because although she is my wife, she is my grandmother too. Now, if my wife is my grandmother, then I'm her grandchild, and every time I think of it, it nearly drives me wild, because now I have become the strangest case you ever saw. As husband of my grandmother, I am my own grandpa. Don't you love that? That Ray Stevens was a master of comedic songwriting, and that one, I think, just takes the cake. Still, many of us still want to know our roots, and many discover fabulous stories to tell. My wife, Barbie, discovered that her great aunt immigrated here from Germany and brought with her an early educational program called the kindergarten. Yes, the mother of American kindergarten is my great aunt of my wife. My great grandfather on my mother's side headed up a lobbying effort. He organized and formed an organization that gave us the national anthem called the Star Spangled Banner. He is the guy to blame for having to sing that song that is so hard to get our voices around. Anyway, nice to have those kind of family roots. Well, more than the curious stories of curious forebears, genealogies are especially important for those who are claiming to have citizenship in a particular country. Some parts of the Bible, especially the book of Numbers, have lots and lots of lists of names and genealogies, because proving one's ancestry as Jewish was really important at the time. And at least in Jesus' day, you weren't truly a Jew unless everybody in your family tree was Jewish all the way back to the days of Abraham and Sarah. So genealogists are even more important for one other special group, and that is of those who claim to be royalty. The royal family of England gathers for a picture, and what happens? They all get electrocuted. So it went in the movie King Ralph. Did you watch King Ralph? They all get electrocuted in one shot, and so the people of England have got to hunt down somebody that's an heir to the throne that they can crown king. Number 100, or about 100, was an American by the name of John Goodman. At least that was his real name. And the rest is comedy, or I say history. Well, it really is comedy, a great funny movie. Well, when Matthew went about to write Jesus' story, he knew that Israel's Messiah had to be a king. For as Isaiah wrote it, for unto us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulders. He'll be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the greatness of his government and peace there will be no end. He will reign on David's throne and over his kingdom, establishing and upholding it with justice and righteousness from that time on and forever. Hence, Matthew introduced Jesus by clarifying and claiming his Jewish roots all the way back to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and also through David, Mary, and Joseph, proving his royal lineage within Judaism. In effect, Matthew was declaring that Jesus was going to fulfill God's promise to do to perfection what Israel and its earlier kings failed to do, which is truly to establish God's reign on earth by correcting a whole lot of mischief, healing a whole lot of brokenness, making straight roads out of crooked paths, and bringing God's peaceable kingdom to fruition right there in Palestine. This is Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews, the King for whom you have waited for centuries. That's what Matthew was saying. But there was a lot more to that. Because if you look at the genealogy itself, you do establish Jesus' bona fides, but you also see that the genealogy uncovers a lot of ridiculousness in God's mission in the world. You see, the genealogy is not just a bunch of names. Behind every name is a story. When you look through Jesus' genealogy, you'll find all kinds of stories that show ways that God will work through ridiculous circumstances in order to bring into fulfillment the promise of a king. For example, Abraham and his wife Sarah the first ones there, gave birth to a son in their early 90s. Are any of you in your 90s yet? Imagine having a baby in your 90s. Well, their son, Isaac, who was also almost sacrificed to death in a mountain. That son, Jacob, was nearly killed by his own brother. Judah's generation would have died in a famine had it not been for the younger brother, Joseph, being sold by Judah and their brothers into slavery. And then the nation of Israel lived as slaves for 400 years, but then were miraculously liberated by God. And yet then they wandered for 40 years on a hike that should have taken 2 weeks. Once they were in the promised land, the nation had to fight the people living in the land. Sometimes they obeyed God, sometimes God prospered them. Sometimes they rebelled from God, and sometimes they suffered in the process. But by the time of King David and Solomon, the nation had become powerful, but it also become spiritually corrupt, worshiping other gods. But God, through Solomon, through Jehoiakim, God showed to be patient with a nation that was in many ways wicked, corrupt, and faithless. And over, he sent prophets to beg and threaten to bring the people back to God. So God allowed them to go into Babylonian exile, where they lingered for generations. Meanwhile, nations came and went. The Babylonians were defeated by the Persians, who allowed them to return to Palestine. The Greeks conquered them, and then the Romans did. But together they brought a common language and built great roads. In the midst of all of these ridiculous things, God did preserve the line of David. And a man named Jacob gave birth to a son named Joseph, who married a woman by the name of Mary, who gave to birth to name a son named Jesus, who they called the Messiah. That's what the word Christ means. Through all those centuries, God kept the line of Abraham through David to many generations, to which Jesus was then born and was then come to be known as a king. Now, stop for a moment to think what this means for you. On one level, it shows that we've got a God who is willing to go through ridiculous circumstances, to go to ridiculous lengths to fulfill God's promises. But on another, it shows that God is still willing to go through ridiculous circumstances and go to ridiculous lengths to keep God's promises to you and to me today. Now, quite frankly, let's get real. You may be ready to give up, throwing in the towel, checking out. You may be COVID weary, business starved, politically cynical, civilly cut off. But God is persisting with you to help walk with you through whatever it is you are facing. God keeps going through all circumstances to make sure that there's an unbroken line from Abraham to Jesus. And no matter how erratic God's people were, and yes, they thrived at times and excelled at others and also struggled at others, no matter what erratic things went on, no matter how hopeless sometimes things seem to be, no matter how impossible it was to keep going, God kept going with them. Why? Because God loved them, very simply. And God loves you, and God loves those that you love, so much so that God wants to be alive in your life, in your world. God loved you so much that he was willing to move heaven and earth to get his son here to be our king. There's another kind of ridiculousness in this genealogy of Jesus. When you look at all these names, you can only come to one conclusion. God will work not just through ridiculous circumstances, but through ridiculous people to accomplish God's will. Take a close look at these ancestors of Jesus. Abraham twice told people that his wife was his sister so that they wouldn't fight him to have her. Jacob was a swindler. He lied to his father, cheated his brother, ripped off his father-in-law. Judah sold his brother into slavery and slept with his daughter-in-law, thinking she was a prostitute. Another one on the list was Rahab, and she was a prostitute. Ruth was a Gentile from a despised country. David committed adultery and then had the husband killed so he could have the woman to be his own. Solomon allowed his wives, he had 300 of them, to worship false gods. Many of the other kings in Jesus' line were evil. One king, Manasseh, even sacrificed his own son as an act of worship to a false god. You got the idea. Jesus' family tree is filled with every human weakness, and their stories were plain to see in the Bible. The Bible didn't shrink back, didn't paper over the mess they made of their lives. But no, The Christian church through 2 millennia has believed that God used all these sinful, fallen people to bring the King of the world in to heal the world. And we are foolish enough, those of us who do believe in our many different denominations, foolish enough to believe that God called and used people like us, you and me, people a lot worse than us, people that are crazy enough to believe that God even begat with the help of young Mary, a child, a son, to be born of such imperfect ancestors, because it was those kinds of people that God came to love and to redeem. God came to those kinds of people to empower them, to make them a difference in the world around them. Friends, that's the kind of lessons we can learn from this genealogy. It tells an amazing story. It tells about a God who's willing to go through ridiculous circumstances, to do ridiculous lengths to keep God's own promises. It shows a God who worked through ridiculous people to do ridiculous things with people like you and me to change the world in which we live. And so whether it's through Ancestry.com that we're tracing our roots, or we're finding rootedness in a family line or a community of faith, whether we find our rootedness in jobs, careers, friendships, other activities, who knows, you may, whatever it is you may beget or begot or begin or something like that in the future. We have a new day coming with the New Year's holiday.
I didn't want to go there.
To all of you, I say happy holidays, happy New Year. Also, to those particularly, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, yes, and a happy New Year to you all. May we find inspiration in these holy days, and know that God will go to ridiculous lengths to make great, ridiculously good things come to pass in your lives and ours. Amen to all of that. Thank you for welcoming me to your fellowship today.
Thank you. There's Christy.
Wow, now I've got to go to Ancestry.com and figure out what happened in my past.
That's right.
I am so grateful during this season for a God that loves me.
Yeah.
There. All right, we have some announcements. I'm going to move this over to Charlie. Charlie McIlvaine, are you ready? Are you still there?
I'm
Charlie
still here. I was
McIlvaine?
just getting unmuted.
There you are.
You have to always wait a minute for people to unmute.
Yeah. Okay. Well, today we need in fact, on November the 11th, the nominating committee made a report to the club for board members for the 2021-2022 Rotary year. Our nominees for president, Jeff Harris, president-elect, Marta Diffin, secretary, Jeff Windling, treasurer, Gina Daniels, immediate past president is Tammy Prout. We also had 6 nominees for board members, and those board members in alphabetical order are Rowe, Michael Huff, Todd Odom, Janelle Peralt, Donna Peterson, and Phyllis Ricks. And in the past 30 days, we've had no nominees from the floor or nothing in writing. So with that, we have a motion and a second to accept this board for our club's 2021-2022 Rotary year.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, I know Jeff made the motion. Who
Dave.
second?
Dave,
Okay,
I'll
Dave.
second.
All right, very well. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please state aye. Raised hand.
Aye.
All right, any objections? Seeing none, congratulations. We do have a board for our Rotary year 2021-2022.
Woo-hoo.
I'll turn the floor back over to you, Christy.
All right. I think I saw David Samuel up there online. So in his quietest voice, he's going to tell us about this Saturday.
And in my quietest voice, I'm going to tell you about last Saturday. It was great. People came to our aid. I put out a note. I said, we need some help. And y'all stepped up. So that's, thank you, thank you. And as you saw in my note yesterday, I can see the barn door, people. We are on the last slope, but that means this is your last chance if you're if you're going to ring the bell. And that's a good thing, because getting money for people who are in need is a neat deal. Now here's what's up. If you have not done it before, please consider trying it. Just try it. Go over. I've got 3 slots open on this coming Saturday afternoon. One at 3 o'clock, one 4, and one 5. We got nobody on those. We need somebody to go out and ring a bell. I've had several of you other people who've rung bells lots, and you said you'd volunteer, but you don't. I mean, you do if you want to, but at the same time, hopefully some new folks will try it. So if you haven't tried it, try it out. I'd like to make about, we're about $1,700 right now, and I'd like us to make $2,200. That's my goal. So we need some, but we're going to have to step up to do it. All of that to say, find it in the spoke, find it in my email. There's a sign up way. All you got to do is hit the blue link and try out ringing the bell. You've all been doing great, but we got one little push to go. So that's my story. Thank y'all. I'll see you on Saturday.
Woo. All right, I have another event this Saturday if you haven't taken advantage of looking at that, and that is as part of the Blue Santa program. We gave out meals and gifts to families in Kerrville. We didn't have as many requests on that program this year, but we got a whopping request for help from the Doyle Community Center. So part of the funds that are normally expended for the Blue Santa are going for their Blue Santa program. And that is this Saturday from 1 to 4 at the Doyle Center. So if you want to get out there and see some people and give away some stuff and make people's day, it'll be a great experience Saturday afternoon if you want to go ahead and do that. Let me see. Michael Huff, you want to do your thing? Your thing? It's your thing. Do what you want to do. I can't tell you.
Please stop it.
I know. Stop.
All right, we have to give some money away. And this is how thin this deck is. So by hook or by crook, we're gonna have a winner.
Christy, don't go far.
Huh?
Don't go too far. Would you draw?
No, you're pulling my ticket.
I'm not doing this. Any volunteers?
Our new members, let's have some of the new incoming folks.
We have about 30 people here today, and we have well over 100 tickets. We had a rather large investment, so there's about $1,300 in the pot. We're going to share half of it with the club and with the lucky winner.
Oh, mine, okay. $8704.
All right.
If I had let you go ahead of me, I'd have the winning.
Well, that's true. That is so true. Queen of clubs.
Queen of clubs.
Rip that up. All right.
Having some problems picking a card.
8802.
8802. That's me. It's ready. No, it's not. 8802. The right number. Okay, I'm so excited.
We have a winner. After after my 90% cut, you get like $30. Christy Vandenberg, the winner. Awesome.
Right.
I'm so glad that's over.
Okay. Did you leave my little cheat sheet up here? Oh, good. Oh, see, it wasn't rigged. Thank you, David. Picked that right number. Then I can buy my own pen because I borrow his all the time. Oh, and it's still down here. This is a nice pen, y'all. It's got that white tip thing on it. It's really a nice pen. And he walks in every day. I sit down and he puts his pen over by me because he knows I don't have one. So God bless him, a new member like that. That's awesome. All right, let's see. I need to give away some wine. All right, let's see what I have here as strings and names. I don't know if these people are here. I took these out. Greg Peschel, are you online? Greg Peschel. I know you're not in the room, so
He was online. I think
he was.
Let me see. I'm not seeing him. Give him a second. I'm not seeing his name now.
Hey, Tammy, we can see you.
Yay.
Nope, not online.
Online. I can't find him.
Who else I have here? Cynthia McNeely, she was not online.
No.
Lindsay Neal, she was not online.
No.
Brian Bowers,
No.
Mark Armstrong,
No.
Todd Odom.
Yes, he's online.
Todd.
He's on mute. He's on mute. Todd, come off mute. Todd, come off mute.
Who weren't in the room today.
Come on, Todd. He's not responding.
Not responding.
That's a shame because I know you would have his pin on.
Yeah, he must have had something come up.
Probably selling a car. Okay.
That's what I'm thinking. He's selling a car.
Kenneth Early,
He's not online.
Judy Eichner.
He's online. Give her a second here to unmute. Judy Eichner. I don't see her unmuting.
Yeah. You at your desk, grab it, put it on. Oh, here I have one.
There she is. Judy. Judy is motioning. Don't you want it, Judy, or what? We can't hear you. Come off mute. Judy, come off mute.
I have one here that's the winner if Judy doesn't.
Judy is trying to do something, but she's stuck on mute.
Do something.
Judy, do you have on your pin? Just yes, wait, yes or no.
Thumbs up, thumbs down.
She must not can hear us either, maybe. I don't
Maybe
know.
she lost her audio.
George doesn't know.
Oh, she doesn't have on her pin.
Oh,
Doesn't. Okay, how about this person? Jeff Wendling.
He's gonna have on a pin.
Looking like he's got some pins on there.
all right.
I know you would have rather had the red ticket, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. All right. I have some things. Tammy, you got any wisdom to embark today?
Yes, I would like to go over again and really encourage everyone online and in person to opt out of the billing so that we can help Gina with the next cycle of billing. If you plan on attending in person, you don't have to do anything. But if you do not plan on attending in person, please just email her. There's no good, bad, or indifferent of what it is. It'll just help us with the billing. We're trying to find the easiest way to do the billing for next cycle. So if you know that you're going to stay coming virtually, which we will continue the dual platform, please make sure that you send Gina, and in the email I sent yesterday as her email, send a note telling her that you want to opt out of the lunch billing. If you decide, that doesn't mean that you can't come in person between the next quarter. You'll just pay in person when you get there. But I think this may be the easiest thing. By opting out, it doesn't mean you're forbidden to come to the meeting. And by not saying anything, it doesn't mean you can also do virtual. We just need your help on the billing part of it. So that's all I had.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. This is the agenda that I couldn't print out because my printer is gone. So it's very fancy and I'm trying to read it all. Wine I gave away. David, do you have breakout rooms set up?
Well, I can do them in a second here. I didn't know if you
Can
get.
you give them 6 minutes and 6 people per room? Or
I just
5
do
rooms?
4. I'm going to do 4 rooms, and that'll be about.
Don't leave just because we're going to do breakouts.
Yeah, that's the
Oh
problem.
my gosh, Mark's going to be all by himself.
We've got people.
Mark, come up to this table right here. You can take my chair.
Okay, I'm creating 3 rooms.
Hey, Chrissy,
Are you ready?
it's John.
Here we go. We're gonna
Okay, I'm going to give you a topic to discuss. What are you doing for the holidays? What are you doing for the holidays? Tell your table about it. Ready? Go.
Okay, well, I always like to bounce around, so here we are in 1. I see we've got a few people here. Charlie, you're on mute. Gerald, you're on mute. Jacques, I think you're off mute.
Yes.
Art, you are on mute.
Gerald, I'm off mute.
Okay, everybody's off mute there. Christy, you're in breakout room 1.
She's gone from the podium.
Yeah, okay.
What?
You're in this breakout group here.
Well, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. The whole room won't hear me. I'm sorry.
And then we'll know.
Well, all right. What does everybody have planned for the holidays? Jock, you want to start?
Sure. I am planning to, I'll be around the hill country, cook some lamb on Christmas Day, spend some time with the family, hopefully get to see not all my kids, but some of them. And I just put in for some time off in January. Depending on how things are going, either go to Marfa or somewhere else in Texas. But I like getting away to Marfa and just enjoying the high desert. So doing that and some projects around the house. Not taking a whole lot of time off, just like 5, 6, 7 days.
All right. Dave, while you're here, before you run off to another chat room.
Yeah, I'm going to run off, but I'll go ahead. We're just staying at home. I mean, last year we visited all the grandkids and my sister over Christmas. They're all far flung. But this year, because of COVID, we're not going to be traveling. So we're just here by ourselves. For Thanksgiving, we shared a turkey with the people across the street, and they're going to share a ham with us for Christmas. So,
well, you won't go hungry that way.
That's right. So that's our big celebration.
All right. Thanks for sharing that. Gerald, how about you?
No big plans. My 2 sons, one's in Boston, the other family's in Colorado for skiing over the holidays. So we're just going to be hanging around here in Kerrville. Got a new puppy that is occupying 110% of our.
David, what are you doing for Christmas?
Everybody's going to hear this over and over again because my screen gets recorded. Okay. So we're staying home. We're not going anywhere. We're so thankful that last year we saw all of our grandkids over Christmas. So we'll be seeing them probably just by Skype. For Thanksgiving, we shared a turkey with the folks across the street. We did the turkey and sent it across. And for Christmas, they're doing a ham and they're sending it across. So
Oh, how cute.
that's our big social interaction with all the COVID nonsense going on. So how about you guys?
That's really cute. We've all pretty much said the same thing. We're gonna be as safe as possible and probably do a lot of virtual stuff.
Yeah, it's a shame that, so I'm gonna go ahead and bounce to the last room, and then probably, if they seem to be coming along okay, I'll probably end the session then.
Okay.
All right. Merry Christmas to all
Merry
of you.
Christmas, everybody.
Thank you.
If any of you are so inclined, give us a call. Because we're going to start right now taking registrations, so as we don't have to turn people away. So we'll only have about 1/4 the capacity, even less than 1/4 the capacity that we'll use. But that'll be a good old standard classical communion and candlelight service at 7:30. The 5 o'clock one will be a wild, crazy, loud bunch of kids having a lot of fun in that. So if you have some kids or grandkids to bring to that and both will be on website afterward, so you can watch at your convenience if you're interested.
How is this group coming? I think there's more people in this group than there are in any other group. I want to end the session here in the near future. Has everybody had a chance to talk?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll probably be ending the session briefly. Tim, how you doing? I heard you were.
Yeah, I did. I had COVID over Thanksgiving, and so it was just my mom and I hunkering down and just trying to get through that. Yeah.
Okay, well.
Glad you got through okay. That's great.
Yeah,
thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and leave the room, and I'm going to end the sessions then.
Okay.
We're back.
Yes. There's like a minute delay on this, so.
Oh.
We'll all be back together again in a second.
All
What are you
good.
doing, David? Oh.
There's Christy. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We should all be back.
Yay, us.
Yes, we lose a lot of people.
All right. We've got great conversations going in here around the table, just so you know. All right, let's bring it back together. I hope that everybody has something planned. Tammy asked me to do this today, and I was thinking about, COVID and how it's changed so much of what we do. It is just one of those things that is a reality, and we're having to deal with it. But the thing I'm most proud of, and I think most of you know, I'm in training to be district governor. I am for next year. So I've heard a lot from different clubs and stuff. I mean, there are some clubs that you haven't even been meeting yet, and they stopped meeting in March. And I'm just amazed because I feel like there were so many things this last 8 months for Rotarians to do so that we could continue to make a difference. So I started thinking, just since the first of the year, just since Tammy's year, okay, let's start in July. We started in July. We did have a food drive in July. We had August, and we did another thing for another food pantry. In September, we did the Labor Day walk, and then we did a blood drive. In October, we did Hill Country Families Fighting for Polio and raised the most money we've ever raised, and that will include the sale of those Christmas cards, which if you haven't got a Christmas card, let me remind you, they are right over there. Michael has them. We're selling them $10, and they're beautiful. I've been sending them out myself. In November, we kind of got ready for December, and in December, we're doing Blue Santa last weekend. We're doing Blue Santa this weekend. We had a blood drive in December. We're ringing the bell for Salvation Army still for 4 Saturdays. And I look at this list, we're having another food drive today.
Yes.
If you didn't bring food, I'm hoping my car is still there because I left the back end open and it's out in the parking lot. If you brought food, please put it in there. There will be some other Rotary elves with me over at the Veterans Center from 2 to 3 today. So if you didn't get food and you want to donate some food, bring it by the Veterans Center this afternoon on Meadowview. So I look at all that and I think we didn't slow down. We didn't stop helping our community. You know, we didn't let COVID beat us. Let's put it that way. And I am so, so proud of everybody who's online and everybody who's in this room. I need to make some special thanks. I want to thank Brenda Thompson, y'all, because she is a sergeant at arms and she said she still would come here to check people in and do all of that stuff. So thank you, Brenda. I want to thank David Rittenhouse, who's up there and who took over the responsibility yes, of getting the Zoom meetings going. David, round of applause for you. Great job. I want to thank Clint Morse. He sits back there. He's pretty quiet, although he does always have a question for our speakers, and that's good. I never even asked for questions from, because I knew Clint, you'd ask me something, I wouldn't know the answer to it. But Clint has done speakers this whole 6 months. We haven't, again, skipped a beat. Thank you to Clint so much. Appreciate you. And certainly last but not least, the people who are serving on the board right now, and many of you are in the room, you didn't expect that this was going to be the year that you served on the board of directors, and we had to figure out how to be so flexible and so ready to try new things. And ably led by our president, Tammy, who's up there. Tammy, where are you? Talk to us. There she is.
I'm right here. I'm here.
Yay, Tammy, proud. So I think, gave away the wine. I won the money. Let's see what else I have to do today. I think I'm good. I'm going to go over to the Veterans Center from 2 to 3 if anyone wants to help me over there. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. Our next meeting will be January 6th, I believe. It is a Wednesday. And I just hope that you all stay safe and have a great time with your families. To me, that's the most important thing. So let's do the 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Yay.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Don't forget your hot chocolate. Don't forget your hot chocolate. It was a present from the Kroc Center. Take it with you.
I'm going to close the meeting, folks.
Thank you, David.
Bye-bye.